All right, so this video is going to be about LLMs, and this particular video is like the start of a much bigger series where I talk about how to build AI agents. And this video is something which about LLMs, which you need to know before getting started with agents. We'll be going one level deeper than what you know about LLMs, one or two level deeper, to just understand how an LLM works, because that will help you create better agents. That's what I feel. So this video will first 30 seconds I'll talk about myself, and then we'll see what an LLM is and then how do they work, and that'll be it. Okay, so about me, I am Sai Yashwant. I'm an AI engineer. I work at an early stage startup. I'm also a co-author of a book which I'm writing with the founder of that startup on multi-agent systems, on AI agents, and with Manning Publication, and that's like a very big event, big deal of my life. Apart from that, I'm still a college student. I'm in final year of college. I experiment a lot, I fail a lot, and that's my nature. I do a lot of experimentations. I'll do a lot in this channel. I'll be building cool stuff, be learning, I'll be sharing my thoughts. So yeah, if you guys can subscribe, I'll be good. Okay, so the main part of the video, what are LLMs? LLMs, the full form is large language model. Let's start from behind. Model is anything which takes an input and gives out an output. So consider it as a black box which takes an input, does some transformations, and gives an output. Language, this model can take the input as a form of text. Language, English language, how we normally speak. Large, that means it's trained on a very large data set, and that's why we call it a large language model. This model is something which can understand our language. We can talk to it, and it will converse with us, keep meaningful conversations with us, and that's insane. That's like another form of intelligence altogether, apart from humans. So that's like the ones we see in movies, and it's crazy. But let's take a deep look into what an LLM is, and to understand the last 2 points, why it's not exactly understanding the language, and why a lot of people think it's not another form of intelligence. So an LLM is basically a machine learning model. It's a deep neural network model which can understand patterns in our languages when we feed training data to it. So it can understand patterns, stuff like our language, and based on that, it gives out the output. I'll discuss more on how that happens, but this is it. So an ML model, normally they take an input and give an output, and this input output, the schema, or the format usually remains the same. What's different with an LLM is that this comes under generative AI. You can see that image there where I show the domains, but generative AI is a subfield of ML where you generate something new altogether. And unlike a normal ML model, this is completely different. And that's why these things blew up. LLMs, when they were introduced to the general public as ChatGPT, as OpenAI launched ChatGPT, which was running GPT 3.5 under hood, people literally lost their minds because it could talk to you, it could like converse with you. People built applications like Character AI. People were having relationships with AI. This was crazy. Next section, I'll go one level deeper to show you how it works. That will be very helpful, and that is the goal of this video. Before that, a small history. We had ML since like 1980s, 1970s, if I'm not wrong. 2018, we had something called transformers from Google. So Google's scientists released this paper called Attention is All We Need, and that completely changed NLP. Before, we had RNNs and a lot of other models, NLP tasks which were doing, but they weren't really intelligent. They were just doing stuff, but they were just like learning the patterns and doing stuff. They were not intelligent. But then transformers came, GPT came into to 2020, GPT-2, if I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong, but yeah, GPT came in 2020. Things changed completely. Models became intelligent, and let's look into what that intelligence actually is. So how does an LLM work? So I told you that an LLM is basically a neural network model. There's a very oversimplified way of showing how an LLM is built. There are two steps. You pre-train a model, and then you post-training methodology where you train the model on some data. So you pre-train a neural network on a very large number of very large data set which contains of text, newspapers, articles, etc., internet articles, stuff like that. And in this step, your neural network understands the patterns and learns the language, but it's still not as good. So you do post training, where it is a very tedious and costly, task, where you're training on some sort of human annotated data. So if this is the question, this is how the answer should be: Q&A or many more stuff. This post training methodology, this post training process is also called as fine tuning. But let's look into how it is generating text. So as you can see, the third point, an LLM does next word prediction. What this basically means is, when you give an input, your LLM decides or predicts, using a lot of math and statistics, what the next word, which would complete the sentence, what the next word after this sentence would be. And it does this all the time. So next word and the next word and the next word. You could see a GIF which explains that. But yeah, and this doing it a lot of time, that is called autoregressive. And this next word prediction is done semantically. What do you mean by semantically? That is meaning. So if I give an input, your LLM would predict what the next word would be, but the next best word fitting the meaning would be. And this is how they actually generate answers. And this really sort of doesn't really make it intelligent, right? They're just predicting what the next best word would be. They're just making up sentences. They don't even know what they're giving. And this is why I told they're not very intelligent according to a lot of people, and they don't really understand our language. But that is not true. They do understand the patterns, and I believe they're intelligent. A lot of people have their own, definition of intelligence, and a lot of people confuse intelligence with consciousness. And I think there will be a separate video, or maybe a separate mini blog post: intelligence versus consciousness. But I believe these models, they are intelligent. And when if you have heard of chain of thought, so the last point, I've written something called reasoning and action. So you can use a model which just predicts the next word to you can give a prompt to make it predict the next thought for an input. And this sort of makes it much more better than what it was originally. This is called reasoning. There are many methods to do that. One most popular method is called chain of thought. They basically reason, they think what would be the next best thing, and they give out a thought. And sure, they don't really know what they gave out, but whatever thought it is giving, that is very good. And now, yeah, based on these thoughts, your LLM can perform some sort of actions, and actions like sending emails, sending messages, uploading a post, putting up a LinkedIn post, searching for something, stuff like that. We'll cover reasoning and action, also called as React, in a complete different video. If you can go to my channel, there's a 30-minute video where I explained how LLMs work. It was a talk. There I explained what reasoning and action is, and how agents work using LLMs. And reasoning and action is like the fundamental basis of how the modern frameworks like Crew AI, they work. They all use reasoning and action. So yeah, this is about LLMs. This is what I feel is needed for someone to get started with agents. If you're building agents, if you know this stuff about LLMs, maybe perhaps go read something more, and see that would help you create better agents or LLM applications. So yeah, that is like the content of this video, the script which I wrote. I don't really have a script. Whatever is shown on the screen is a script. Everything's coming from my mind. And if you're new to this channel, I'll probably recommend you to subscribe, or maybe give some sort of feedback on what I need to do, what I need to improve. I'm really not that really good at editing or creating videos. Yeah, I'll be creating a lot of videos on AI agents, a lot of hands-on and a lot of practical, project-based, and also some theoretical, where I talk about my thoughts. So if you really want to see this journey, I guess it would be good if you subscribe. And that's it. Yeah. Thank you.